because it took a really long time to get anything from them. And I'm hooked up with some other agencies similar to that. And it takes at least like six months or a year before you even get your first gig. At least for me, in my experience. It requires a lot of patience. So I don't remember exactly how it started, but they did have a project last summer, and I was able to get on that. I brought in a designer who's also freelancing that I used to work with at my full-time job. So that's kind of another thing, is bringing in other people that are also freelancing that you know have certain skills that can augment yours. Like, she designed the site and I built it. That type of thing. And yeah, that's pretty much I've only done one project for them, and that's pretty much been it. I'll get brought into the project every once in a while when there needs to be an update of some sort, but that's about it.
What do you think about Team's business model? You started talking about that.
The business model, I think, is interesting. I don't know how it's sustainable. Like I said, I'm hooked up with a few other agencies like that. I still haven't gotten anything from them. I know that Teams, I think part of their business model is that co-working space. And I really don't know. I mean, they haven't really paid me in a long time. I've been trying to get paid for this thing I did a year ago.
Oh, wow.
And they're still having trouble paying me. So that's kind of a big thing in terms of their model. I don't really know, because I don't know how long they're going to be in business, because they're not able to pay their freelancers. So that's kind of a big part, and why I initially probably wasn't going to do this, because I was like, why does Team need me more of my time? I've already given them plenty, they're not paying me, that type of thing. But at the same time, I haven't really cut them off either, because I still need work, and if they have something else, I'm probably going to work with them again. I know plenty of people that aren't going to work with Team anymore because of that payment issue. And yeah, I mean, it is kind of again, if I didn't have a savings account, I'd be totally screwed. I'd be back in the full-time thing, because they're not paying me. And they actually are, but it's taking a really, really long time. I'm hoping I'll get the entire paycheck, but like I said, it's like 8 months overdue right now. They've been paying in installments.
Wow, that's a long time.
So, yeah. So that's another part of just the cash flow itself. I mean, you need to have that savings account to be able, because the bills never stop. And so I'm not really sure what their business model is, specifically to that organization, just because I've been having trouble getting them paid. So I think some people can make it work, but I don't know what their margins are. It might just be like the art, where there's just no margins. There's no way to make any money off it because of what everything costs.
So you mentioned that one part of the model is the co-working space, and another part is an agency, basically. Do you think that... Yeah,
that's what it seems like there. Sorry.
Do you think that these two directions are in conflict with each other?
I don't think so, because with freelancing, there's a lot of overlap with co-working spaces. Like, I like to work at home, but I know plenty of people, some of them are actually freelancing, they can't work at home. It's just not going to work out for whatever reason. They have to be at a place that's not their house. Some that may help with in terms of, like, staying on task. I think if I had something really long, like a really, really, really big project to do that I just needed to really dig in and focus, it might be better for me to go somewhere to do it. I haven't run into that yet, but I think they're probably compatible. I mean, they're probably different things administratively, but I mean, you're working with a client that's paying you for web work or design work, or you're working with a designer or a developer that is one of your clients. I mean, it's clients in different ways, but I think they're in the same kind of atmosphere, co-working spaces with freelancers. Because I don't really know if any full-time people use co-working spaces. They might. And I did know, some people that, like, at my full-time gig, they would leave for, 2 hours or so just to get work done. Go to a coffee shop or a co-working space to get out of the office, because the office is too distracting in other ways.
Oh, that's interesting.
So, yeah, I think you're probably compatible. Sorry, go ahead.
I just said it's interesting that people would just go out and go to a co-working space to get the work done.
Yeah, and it wasn't like a space that they paid for, so probably more like a coffee shop. And yeah, that's kind of the thing with open office plans, where everybody's talking to each other, and I mean, it was an agency, so you couldn't work for 15 minutes without getting interrupted by another request, which is not productive at all. Like, I mean, that's another reason I didn't like the whole 8 or 9 to 6 things, because people would be taken up by all these other things, meetings, and different requests, and estimating, and all these other things. They weren't able to get any work done, so they were working at night to be able to do their work. That during the day, it was just all wasted time. They weren't able to actually work, which is why I think some of them ended up leaving to get some work done, and then coming back to say that they're there at 6 o'clock. And that's kind of why that whole 8-hour, 9-hour day is such a problem in my eyes. You can't even get any work done. You're going to be working basically on your own at home just to get the work done. So for me, freelancing, I might as well just do that in the first place and not waste 8 hours doing nothing and being in a place.
Okay, so what single thing teams should focus on to improve its effectiveness? I guess the payments.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only thing I can think of because I don't really know what goes on over there. Like, I don't work there. I've been there for meetings and stuff like that. I'm not really sure, like, what they could do better beyond pay your employees. I mean, that's kind of the bottom line. Like, because they're losing people that way. If you're not getting paid, you're not going to be able to have that resource available because they're just not going to work for you. But I'm still there because I still need clients. So if I had more things going on, I wouldn't be doing stuff with them. But I'm still early in the freelance area, so I feel like I need that. But, you know, in 2 or 3 years, hopefully I'm not going to be working with them unless things change. I mean, if they can still give me quality projects and I can get paid in a way, and if that keeps going, like right now I'm not doing anything with them. It's just they call me every once in a while when something is necessary on the site, the one site I did build. So yeah, I'm not really sure about that answer.
Okay. Do you think that their business model can be translated to other industries?
Beyond design and development, probably. I mean, anything you can outsource or do on a freelance basis, I think that's probably a lot of professions could fall into that. Anything that you don't have to be at a place, you know, like if you're a boss, you kind of have to be there because you have got employees or, I mean, I guess you could do that remotely with all the technology nowadays. Yeah, I forgot what the question was again. You just get distracted and go off on these things.
If the team's business model can be translated to other industries.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think so, and I think it has been to an extent. It may not be their business model, but it may just be the gig business model in general. I mean, there's a lot of these startup companies that, you know, like Uber and Lyft and everything. Like, and again, I don't know how they're paying their employees fairly at the same time. I mean, that seems to be where things get cut, is towards the last part where the people that are actually providing the labor are the ones getting screwed. But I think it already is kind of working in some other industries. You know, like they're giving rides and TaskRabbit and, you know, just doing errands for people or like crunching numbers. I don't know, like anything that doesn't necessarily have you be at one location at all times. I think it could work for those industries.
Okay, so we have just a couple of questions left. When you work on a project with a group of people, what are the key attributes of successful teammates?
Communication definitely is the big one, at least in my industry. It's really easy to get off on the wrong track just because no one's talking to each other. The accountability, you know, that you don't have to worry if someone's going to deliver something. I mean, that's a big one. Like, at the end of the day, you still need to prove that you can do stuff and actually get it done. And maybe that's what's good about some full-time stuff. Like I said, that's the challenge when you're freelancing. If you don't have anyone above you making you do stuff, I mean, you're kind of accountable to the client and to your teammates in general. But it almost seems to be kind of on your side to make sure you're performing well as a team member. I don't know if you have anyone really checking you on that. So yeah, just being productive and honest and saying what you're going to do and do what you say you're going to do. That type of stuff is really important with the teams because you don't want to have one weak team member because, you know, it brings down the entire team. So yeah, it's important for all the individuals to be kind of